You're hearing Vladimir Putin there, who visited a spaceport to provide his most extensive series of comments about the barbaric, illegal invasion of Ukraine in about a month now. We want to let you know a little bit of what he had to say, including this quote: "What we are doing is helping people and saving people on the one hand, and on the other hand, we are simply taking measures to ensure the security of Russia itself. It is obvious that we had no other choice. I said it from the very beginning. The main goal is to help people in the Donbas." And he goes on to say a collision with these forces was unavoidable for Russia. They were just choosing the time for an attack. Subsequent events showed how deeply this has grown there. This neo-Nazism that has been a narrative that he's been spreading from the beginning, unfortunately became a fact of life for a rather large country close to us. So he's got more to say, don't worry. This is consistent with how he has talked about the invasion even before they launched it. The idea that Ukraine itself or some faction inside of Ukraine was preparing to preemptively attack Russia, that goes, I think, even a little bit further than I had previously heard him say. The idea that he's going in there to help people, that's the cover story that they've run with for some time. But the idea that this was needed because there was some sort of impending attack against Russia, that is just so disconnected from the facts. I guess we shouldn't be surprised. It's Vladimir Putin, but Morgan, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, he has no limits to the lies, to the propaganda, and no limits to the type of pain and death that he's willing to inflict on the Ukrainian people, and really, I'm guessing anyone, based on what we're seeing. And so, yeah, I just, it's a really, really scary time. I mean, especially with their nuclear capabilities, and we have to continue just day by day to look at how are we going to be able to effectively manage this to protect Ukrainians and then also our global, our national security. It's scary.
Yeah, exactly. And by the way, like he will present it to the people, because this is, after all, this is not generally, he's not doing a speech specifically for an American audience. He's trying to reassure Russians who admittedly probably don't know that much about what's happening, because an independent press has been almost entirely stamped out in Russia. But he wants them to believe that this was necessary. Leaders always say that. And to try to get them to miss the fact that thousands of their countrymen have needlessly died already. We're 1 month into this and they've lost thousands that did not need to die. And so to avoid people rightfully being horrified by that, present some hypothetical future where far more might have died in a conflict that we all know was never going to happen. But he's also trying to reassure them about the sanctions, the suite of sanctions that both the United States and a number of other countries have put on Russia, saying we're not going to isolate ourselves, and it is generally impossible to isolate anyone in the modern world, and most certainly not as huge a country as Russia. So there's a lot of concerns, I'm sure, in Russia about the effect that the sanctions have had on their currency, on their stock market, on their ability to conduct business abroad. He doesn't want them to be scared about that. Morgan, I'm curious what you make so far of the moves that the Biden administration has made. We haven't been, directly involved in any sort of conflict with Russia. There have been ever increasing sanctions. Do you like the approach that the Biden administration is taking, or would you advise some sort of change?
I mean, I have been supportive of the sanctions and came out pretty early on. I agree that we needed to take a strong approach to push back on what Putin was doing from a humanitarian and, again, global security, global economy, because the fact is we are very intertwined at this point, and making sure that we weren't going to allow the type of violence that he's inflicting to go unanswered. But I do think that we need to continue to just see how it's developing. I mean, we now are seeing that there are war crimes that are happening that appears to be pretty well confirmed. And I do think, though, that we need to be very cautious about any sort of direct military intervention, but supporting our allies and then also, pushing back a little bit there. And he's saying that it's not possible to isolate Russia. Well, I mean, it is, and we have to continue to do what we can to make sure that there are consequences for this. But unfortunately, we are in this place where looking at our food supply, for example, is connected to, some of the things that are happening in the region. And so, it is going to be somewhat complicated, but I think we have to continue to have a really strong approach.
Exactly, I agree. And in terms of the lethal aid that's being provided, there's certain types that they are providing in terms of direct funding, but then also things like javelins and stingers. But so far, not facilitating direct transfer of like US aircraft and things like that. Do you think that they're walking the right sort of line in that area?
I do, and I know there are a lot of different views on this. I mean, some people think that we should be doing a lot more, and I'm talking to a lot of people in Ohio about it. And Ohio has a large Ukrainian American population, for example, Northeast Ohio. And so, I hear that, but I do think we have a lot of people who are quite exhausted from some of the military interventions we've had over the last 20 years, have no desire to really get too quickly involved in something before we know exactly where it's going. And I think we're taking the right approach in following the lead of our allies who are in the region and trying to support them, but also, not get overcommitted too quickly.
Check out the Damage Report podcast each day, wherever you get your podcasts, whether Pocket Casts or Stitcher or iTunes. You can join me as I give you the news and stories you want, with a range of co-hosts and interview guests jumping in on the fun each day. Again, that's the Damage Report, wherever you get your podcasts. And if you get them at iTunes, don't forget to rate and review. Sometimes I'll read them live on the show.